that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this DJ?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Damn it, I'm muted. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this fantastic and awesome special episode of the DGen Roundtable Whiskey Wednesday. For those of you guys that have never seen me before, hello, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker that travels around the country building TV towers and radio towers and things of that nature. And in my free time, I like to talk to folks like you about cryptocurrency and self-improvement and awesome, cool people and all sorts of great things. I am joined tonight by a fantastic panel. We're going to be having some other folks joining us later as well. I have my co-host down below, Mr. Nate McGettit. For those of you guys that don't know, Nate McGettit is one of the DGen Roundtable's networkers. He goes around and talks to people and sees what's going on in different communities. I'm also joined by the DGen Roundtable's macroeconomics specialist, Mr. Bean, the anonymous Bean over there on X. His name is Brendan. He's super cool and awesome. He knows a lot about what goes on in government and up at the Fed. And then also we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Chrispy Man. Mr. Chrispy Man is a data analyst, and he gives all of Hexico some fantastic information regarding Hex staking, T-share payout rates, and other cool things. You guys can find all of his stuff over at hexfire.io, and you can find him on Twitter at that same tag. Gentlemen, welcome to the stream. How are we all doing tonight? We're going to start off with Mr. Nate McGettit. Broski, what's new and exciting with you?
Oh, tons of work. Work. That's basically all that I've been doing. Oh, man, that's why I haven't been on that often. But you know what? I'll tell you what. It sure feels nice to have a little bit of a pumpity pump, right? So, you know, I'm enjoying the green candles, and I hope you guys are too at home.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Brendan Broski, what's new and exciting with you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I just got doxed live on stream.
Oh, no. Damn, dude.
Everybody knows who I am, except 5 people know who I am. So it's all good.
I've seen a few of your movies. Mr. Bean.
Hopefully the good ones.
With Rowan Atkinson.
Let's put that together, man. I know.
Funny man. He's a funny man. So, yeah, not too much going on. It is good, as Nate said, to see some pump. Man, I called that we're going to get a high last week, a new all-time high. And we barely scraped a new all-time high today, but I was very close on my call. Very, very, very close. But at least I was correct in moving in the direction. I saw somebody on X today, probably just trying to garner engagement, saying, that's the top. That cycle's over. Seemed like they were serious, but I think they're a little crazy and farming engagement. Nonetheless, it's good to see. I think we got a lot of bullishness left in this cycle, and excited to see where we're going. Chrispy, how you doing, buddy?
A big hey now. I think I'm going to have to drop off for a moment and come back, but let's see if I can just turn my camera off. I'm getting some pretty bad lag, but good to see the three of you, Mr. Bean. And I give you guys, Will, a big hey now. And
we can hear you just fine, Chrispy. Just so you are aware, you're coming through loud and clear on our end.
Oh, fantastic! Because usually that's the bitch that I hear. Right? People complaining about that. I have coffee tonight.
Voice perfect.
Oh yeah, I can be really perfect if you like.
Excellent. you were saying
I've got those comments. I've got those comments before. I've been propositioned. You know, like, hey, I ought to be doing this old voice thing for a living. They didn't say video; they said voice.
Ooh, get some of that Chrispy Man ASMR or what do you? I think it's called ASMR, whatever the heck word.
That sounds some funny sex stuff. I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's just for sound.
I know what it means. I'm just joking.
Oh, you got me.
That's a whole next thing you'll see is like a Hexfire OnlyFans popping up somewhere in the near future or something along those lines. But how are you doing, broski? What's new and exciting with you?
Which broski? Mace broski? Let's see if my camera works.
Mr. Crispy Man.
110,000 Bitcoin, by the way.
Oh, 10,000.
110K Bitcoin.
Oh, I thought you said you were getting. I thought you were getting 100,000.
No, it's 110 right now.
Oh snap! Did we break it? Oh, we
just
did.
hit 110.
That's nice.
Well. Look at that.
I don't have any Bitcoin. Well, that's not true. I got about $500 worth now. Now it's like $600 worth. That's good.
Ooh. There you go. Excellent.
I always love having some Bitcoin.
It's good to see you, Mr. Crispy Man. And I also see that we've got quite a few of the chats rolling in. So real quick, gentlemen, before we get into the meat and potatoes of our show today, we're going to do a quick motherfucking round. This is not chat shoutouts. This is my magical TA chart. We're going to do a quick round of chat motherfucking shoutouts, everyone's favorite part of the show, where we thank you guys for interacting with us and hanging out and doing cool things and all of that stuff. So, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and rock and roll through these little chat shoutouts. I've gone ahead and started some 4 of them, starting off with Mr. Fox Mulder, giving us a 2 thumbs up. Good to see you, broski. 2 thumbs up right back to you. Shout out to you, Mr. Fox Mulder. First one in the chats. You were rolling in here 25 minutes before we went, or about 30 minutes before we went live. We were a little bit laggy today, but no sweat, no problems. Next up, we've got Miss Amber Simone. Amber Simone says, hello. Good to see you, Amber. Welcome to the stream. Glad we could have you with us today. Next up, we've got Hexakin lost in Asia. He is just here for the Crispy Alpha. Yes, you guys heard it here first. Mr. Crispy Man has some fantastic alpha. He's got some good data, some good analytics. I highly recommend you guys go check out his Patreon, go check out his YouTube, check out his Twitter. He's a super awesome guy. You do your show is on Tuesday, right, Mr. Crispy Man? Or do you do one
Yeah, I'm a slacker, man. I'm on every Tuesday night with Maddie, but I have been anyways. And then I do my own streams.
Okie dokie, excellent. Do you have a set schedule for your streams, or is it?
Well, I don't, man. You guys are all professional, and I don't do nothing professional. So, man.
Well, they should still check out your YouTube over at Hexfire.io. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm up to my next. Put myself on mute. I have to fix this camera for some reason. Something's all screwed up here. But I do a weekly T-share stream.
Okay.
Roughly weekly. I'm coming up on episode 98. 98. So I'm coming up almost on 100 of them. So I've been talking about T-shirts for a long time.
Yes.
How that works. I mean, that doesn't even count the weeks I missed in between. That's almost 2 years worth of streaming just on that. So
what was it? I got a couple questions for you after we're done with the chat shows. We're gonna roll back to that one. Next up, we got though in the chats. Speaking of fantastic people shouting out Mr. Crispy Man in the chats, we've got Miss Tam saying hello, my lovelies, with a whole bunch of little hearts. Hello to you too, Tam. Good to see you. #1 cheerleader in the Pulse Chain and Hexaco space and all of crypto, if you ask me. It's good to see Tam saying that Crispy is her favorite. Fantastic and a good choice. Crispy is fucking awesome. I agree wholeheartedly.
I think he's awesome too. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate the good words.
Absolutely. Next up in the chat, shoutouts, we've got Mr. Eddie Gastelum or Eddie Gasteum, depending on how you pronounce your name. He says, hello from AZ. Now, he could either be from Arizona or he could be misspelling Australian Oz. We'll never know, but it's good. It's good to see you, Mr. Eddie Gastelum. Welcome to the stream. Apologies if I am butchering your name, good sir, but we're glad to have you here with us on the DGen Roundtable on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, evening, or if you're over in Korea, it might be Wednesday night or Tuesday morning or Thursday morning. I don't have any idea what time it is on the other side of the world. I'm only concerned about here in Texas time. Next up,
in Korea, that's what it is.
Would it be Thursday, or would it be? Would it be Tuesday? Man, I don't even know.
It would be Thursday.
It would be Thursday. Wow, look at them. Those Koreans, they're always rocking and rolling, one step ahead of us over here in Texas. But hey, we got the bigger state, so it's
I think there's 13 hours difference, so I think it's 9 a.m. there, Korea.
Mhm.
My memory serves me correctly.
I think so. Every time that we stream and Crypto Stylist hops on, she's always saying good morning, and it's like it's evening over here, so it must be that time over there. But excellent. Next up in the chat, shout outs though, we've got Mr. Frank White saying bang bang DGen gang, bang bang to you too, Mr. Frank White. Good to see you. One of the I can't remember if he's a marketer or developer for the Function Island decks, but it's always good to see Mr. Frank White. He's a fantastic person in Hexaco. Shout out to you, good sir. Glad that we could have you with us. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Pesky Girl saying Tam Tam is my favorite and Chrispy is number 2. There you go, Chrispy. You got the second place and Tam Tam taking home the blue ribbon. Good to see you, Pesky Girl. I don't believe we've seen you on in our chats before, so glad that we could have you here tonight. This is absolutely fantastic.
Pesky.
Oh, Pesky, I don't know Pesky or Pesky. Are you familiar with this lady?
Yes, awesome.
Oh, excellent. Well, it's good to see you, Pesky. Welcome to the stream. Glad that we can have you.
Cotton.
Yep. Next up, we got Cotton Trust. It's 8 a.m. in most of Asia now.
There you go. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, it's good to see you, Mr. Cotton Trust.
Well, they're waking up to 110 Bitcoin, so they better be excited.
Mm-hmm.
They should be.
It's a good time, and that
it's all going to zero. So.
Yep, it's all going to zero, boys. You might as well offload everything now. Remember, nothing we talk about on the show is financial advice. We're all just a bunch of assholes on the internet talking about our feelings.
Hold on, wait.
Go ahead. Yep, there you go. Not financial advice. A great hat. Shout out actually to I think it was Mr. Crypto Coffee where those hats come from. So that's freaking awesome. Good to see you.
And Will gave me this hat, so thank you again, Will.
Yes, indeed. I know. Oh, and we've got Mr. Randy Hilarski coming in with the 20 dineros. Good evening, gentlemen. It's bowl time. Good to see you, Mr. Randy Hilarski. Thank you, sir. Fantastic. Shout out to you, sir, with that beautiful, beautiful super chat. That is freaking awesome to see, broski. Shout out to Randy Hilarski. He is teaching folks all about the life of living without having to ask for permission. So I freaking love
follow him. Go and follow him.
Mm-hmm. I love what you're doing, Randy. Shout out to you, good sir.
Have you guys talked about the farms that he had put up, the homie
farms that he put up? No, what farms did he do? Is this like two stuff?
No. We should grab that information. Maybe I'll send it in or through a chat or something. But
yeah,
he's got the homie farms up where he's got his own little ecosystem, and others. People can come in and farm using the Hocus Pocus front end.
Oh yes, Hocus Pocus is a really cool tool.
You know,
I like that.
They've got the homie don't do that token. I think it's the DAT token, right? I think that's.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, and none of these references probably mean anything to you.
I have no idea what any of this is.
Yeah, so it's like funny word homie, funny word token, DAT token. But you'd have to go back and watch In Living Color, which is a old
great show.
comedy series, comedy series. It was great, but there's a character in there that I just couldn't do it justice. I'll probably get canceled for talking about it. So.
I've heard of that before.
There were some good gags. Good gags.
In Living Color, is that was Rogan on that show?
I don't know. Wayman Brothers, right?
Oh,
you know,
okay.
You know, and you know, yeah. Now, Pesky, I can't say anything, man. Madam.
Can't.
No, actually, I say lots of stuff. I just know that I'll get myself in trouble for saying stuff.
We do have to be mindful while we're on YouTube. We can't be as free as we are in real life. I enjoy I enjoy the Hexaco meetups, like all the big ones and all the small ones where everyone can hang out and not have to worry about like talking over the internet and getting canceled and having people make comments and clips about us and take us all out of context. So that's freaking awesome.
You know how they have these entitled white men on YouTube all over the place, right?
Entitled
like Jordan Peterson.
Oh,
so like I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. I fit the stereotype, man. but I don't know that I'm wrong, but I'm fit the stereotype. And so I already know that I can't say anything without being wrong. So
Yeah.
I gotta be super careful about what I say, but I could tell some pretty good stories, going back some years, but, cause now I'm getting old and crotchety. Right. But, it's just like, I've been around long enough that the accepted terminology for things have changed 3 or 4 times. Like go back to for everything. I mean, and I can't even be specific because even that gets me in trouble too. But
Yeah.
I love all of our viewers, and I love that our community is super diverse. And I think diversity is really important, across the boards. And when I say that, I mean you pick the differences. I'm not picking the differences, but they all work, right?
I like it, dude. That's good. And I think that like the problem with most folks when they get on these like on these rants of like political correctness or something, they're approaching it from the perspective of like there's no nuance to anything. Everything is just either extreme to one side of the spectrum or it's extreme to the other. Nothing exists on a bell curve of whatever the hell, but it's just a whole bunch of folks getting their panties in a knot over
Well, yeah. Yeah, and you could argue too. Well, that the herd mentality is good, bad. You know, we can get into nurture versus nature. I mean, there's like so many things you get into, but they're really most people are in the middle. Always have been in the middle. You have to be in the middle because that's the middle of the pack, right?
Yeah.
And
we should call up RH Max and ask him to host a debate. He's been on a debate kick lately, so shout out to RH Max and getting everybody trying to debate. I'm
supposed to see him Friday. I think.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Is that ballroom or something? I don't know.
Hell yeah, bro! That'll be awesome. I love to hear it.
Mine.
We've got 2 more quick little chat shoutouts for folks that have rolled in. Mrs. Producer, I've gone ahead and start them. First up, we've got Mr. Kenturian 54X rolling in. What's up, DGens? Forgot it was Wednesday. LOL. You're not the only one, Mr. Kenturian 54X. I actually forgot it was Tuesday yesterday. I thought it was Monday, and so I was like, oh, I've got a whole day to prep what I want to talk about on the show, and everything will be fine. And it's like, oh wait, no, I've got like less than 24 hours. Oh fuck, I better think of some things. So did a little bit of scrambling, but I'm glad that we could have you here with us, Mr. Kenturian 54X. Shout out to you wherever you're at. I presume that you're farming right now, doing taking care of the cows and hurdling in the crops and doing whatever it is that pilots and farmers and dungeon masters for our DGen Roundtable D&D group do. So good to see you, broski. Next up, we've also got Mr. Mix, aka Jazole, or maybe it's Jasshole. I don't really know. I keep wondering how to pronounce that name.
I could go with Jasshole.
Yeah, that's it might be Jasshole. I don't really know, bro. If you would be so kind as to type in the comments the phonetic pronunciation of your name, I would greatly appreciate it. But if you want to just keep me guessing, then so be it.
He's an old friend. So I
just, he is? Oh, excellent.
Yeah, but I never really thought of calling him Jasshole. So I think that's.
I figured it was Jazole because it sounds French, and I don't know.
Yeah, it might be French. It might be French. I know. So man, we go back chat wise, long time. But he even put up like a watch. There was a time, guys, when Pulse Chain didn't launch. We were waiting for like 2 years. Then he put up like this watch YouTube that was just like watching continuously for the launch, right?
Oh, that's cool. So like a little watch party for was it just like do you mean like physical watches or like there was just things that were playing constantly like a movie theater?
No, it was waiting for the transactions, right, for launch.
Oh,
if I recollect correctly, like it would you would know it launched.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. So he was just sitting there looking at I
think he posted in the chat, Jason. Post in the chat as to what you were doing. I forget what it was. I forget if it was that or if it was just a website that I went to. But anyways, I know I went there a couple times.
Yeah. I never actually read his comment, Mrs. Producer. Can you bring that back up? I'm going to go ahead and read his comment. He says, "Great to see so many peeps together with no glasses."
Yeah, there's some. So something happens. So JSL, he comes on a lot of the different channels and watches a lot of the streams. And sometimes I wear glasses, sometimes I don't. But there've been a couple streams like we're all wearing glasses. Like when I'm on the I've been on a couple of different ones where everybody's wearing glasses. And so I don't know what the full backstory of this is. All I know is that every stream that he comes on, he asks where I am and where my glasses are. So because now I need these goddamn things too. And screw all you guys. Someday you're gonna need them too. Like I can't read things up front unless like I gotta have my glasses on like this because I can't. Yeah. So anyways, I have my glasses. So if somebody wants, and plus I could take my eyeballs out and put my regular glasses on.
I feel you, bro. I used to need glasses. I got LASIK when I was in the tail end of my Marine Corps career, and it freaking changed my life. So like I know I can relate to the life of needing glasses. And
you must have had BC glasses then, right?
Oh yeah. I was so upset, man. So for those of you guys that are not familiar with some military lingo, BC glasses are birth control glasses, which is what the what they're colloquially referred to in the military, because they're so big and fucking ugly that they're basically just like automatic face birth control. If you wear these damn things, nobody's gonna
they're like those nerd glasses or whatever, like real heavy.
But now you get laid for wearing them, right?
So, oh yeah. They're the society has changed, but like when I was in, they called them BCGs, and they're like, yeah, if you put these things on, then no one's gonna care about you. But since I got out, I was really bummed about it too, Chrispy. I was doing like mountain warfare training, and I had my they switched over from the old ones to like newer, thinner ones that like actually look like modern glasses and whatnot, and they totally changed the style of the original, like combat glasses, and now they don't look like terrible at all. And I lost my last pair of like the ugly ones while I was like doing a stream crossing, where you have to like jump into a stream and like cross over a stream in like frigid freezing water. And so I like jumped in and my glasses were gone, and it's like, oh fuck, I'm like sitting here like Velma splashing about in the water trying to find where my peepers are, and it's just like absolutely ridiculous. So shout out to all my military folks out there who still got a pair of your BCGs, and all of you guys that I think that if someone looks through my like my boot camp graduation stuff, you could see me sitting there like wearing my super ugly BCGs. But yeah, man, that was you just brought me back, Chrispy. You were in the Navy for a while, right? That's as I recall.
Yeah, I was on subs. And so I had my BC glasses, but then when I went to subs, I had to get submarine glasses.
Ooh,
and those were like they're pretty standard now for everybody to get, like wire glasses.
Yeah,
it's really hard to breathe with these masks on with the BC glasses.
Yeah,
and keep a seal. And so you probably would have done it with anytime you're dealing with like germ warfare or chemical warfare equipment. But on board a submarine, right, we had fires and stuff, so you had to wear these air breathers, plug in, and they had to be airtight, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why for those of you guys that don't know, that's why like firefighters, military people, that's why we can't have beards, is because when you put on the breathing masks, like you can't get a seal to your face. That's why like all firefighters only have mustaches, because they wear the breathing apparatus. And same thing with military guys. If you get like, chlorine gas or sarin gas or any sort of mustard gas dropped on you, you got to put your mask on. You can't get a seal if you got a nice, delicious, juicy beard here. It'll protect you. We got Randy in the chats talking about like, oh man, I remember the BC glasses. We've also been joined, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Producer, can you pull up Miss Lunacy Point's comment? She has also joined us. Mrs. Lunacy Point says, "Hey gang, hey, hello to you too, Miss Lunacy Point. Glad that we could have you with us tonight. It's gonna be a good stream." And I believe that we've shouted out everybody in the chats. So enough of that. Let's talk about some of the things that are going on right now. And then we'll talk about some of the things that have been going on for a while. So first and foremost, I want to open it up to the panel. We've got $110,000 Bitcoin. We've got a Genius Stable Act that has come through recently. Those are the things that I think are pretty cool that have been happening in the recent future. So Mr. Brendan, Mr. Nate, Mr. Chrispy, do you guys have any thoughts on any of these cool things happening? We're currently finding out all-time highs while we're live here on stream, so that's pretty nifty, I think. Brendan, I see you've come off mute. What's on your mind, broski?
Well, I don't think the Genius Act is pretty cool. I think it's a negative. Not a big fan of it. It is, I will say, a dumb act, not made by geniuses.
Yeah.
Just I want more control, and I don't mind safeguards. I've been asking for stablecoin legislation for years, and it's been an area where we've obviously had some issues, but I don't think this is the way to take care of that. And then as far as Bitcoin goes, that's very exciting. The higher we get, the better we go, and the bigger we're going to have our alt season once that starts taking off. Unfortunately, we're not getting as much of that quantitative easing as we'd like, as far as with rate cuts at least. But market's still looking very strong. Trade deals starting to come through. Bitcoin moving up. And look at Bitcoin today versus the market. Most of the market in the S&P 500 was down today. So Bitcoin going up, reaching new all-time highs, kind of going against what the traditional finance sector is doing. That's always great to see, because really Bitcoin's been in lockstep traditionally with the financial system, where I think we're starting to slowly see some deviation and really start to become its own thing. And the more that people realize that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, that there are even better protocols out there than Bitcoin, by the way, but just talking Bitcoin right now, hedge against inflation, a great store of value. And when there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the world, economically and militarily, then it's a great place to have your money, in my opinion, not financial advice. But it's great to see. The better Bitcoin does, the better the rest of the space is going to do. It is the leader. It is the first one. It is the biggest one. But we heard of a better hex called Hex, a better Bitcoin called Hex. That is something I want to talk about tonight, because I think there are better coins than Bitcoin. There's better code than Bitcoin. There are things that pay you for holding it long term and staking it. Bitcoin kind of just hangs out. I love Bitcoin. It's amazing. It was the first. It's pretty great, but it doesn't mean that it is currently the best protocol out there. And so I'm trying to always find, what's the new thing? What's the next thing? What's the best thing? And where can I put my money and find ways to increase that? So a lot of interesting things going on, but like you mentioned, interesting about the Genius Act. That could be a whole show that we can talk about that.
Yeah, I think we might table that for a future discussion, especially since it hasn't really passed everything yet. I think that it passed the House, but I'm not sure if it's gone through the Senate yet. I know that it's there's some chat going on about it in the DGen Roundtable Telegram chat. By the way, if you guys aren't a member, feel free to join. You can scan that QR code right down there below, or go to t.me/DRT join now. That's Delta Romeo Tango join now. Stands for DGen Roundtable. Mr.
Passed
Nate,
the Senate, but the House has not voted on it yet, Will.
Oh, okay. It has passed the Senate. It hasn't gone through the House.
So started in the Senate, going to the House next.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that it could go that direction too. I thought it had
to go
to
either direction. It just depends on where it starts.
Okay.
That's cool. One's basically Republicans, the other one is Democrats. It's
funny how that
the bill goes there first.
Funny how that works sometimes, isn't it? We were talking in the green room before the show started, myself, Nate, and Chrispy Man, about how Bitcoin had started in reference back to that, and the way that it's changed throughout the entire history. And we're gonna do book club at some point. I had told everyone that we're going to do book club for this Friday on Roger Ver's Hijacking Bitcoin book, which is actually quite fantastic. Highly recommend everyone go listen to it on Audible. It takes 6 hours if you listen to it at 1x speed, but it talks about the history of Bitcoin and how Bitcoin Core changed from how Bitcoin had a core group of developers that refused to change anything and didn't really adapt to the market as Bitcoin was in its early stage of development and stuff. And so it kind of talks about how the block size and the relevance, and how people did some stifling of outside opinions and not listening to the market, and just being no, we're going to stick to this one thing. We're not going to do Satoshi's original vision of Bitcoin being money, blah, da, da, and shifting of narrative. It's a great book. It's fantastic. But instead of doing that on Friday, because Zenith's not going to be joining us, we're going to be reading the Bitcoin white paper instead for book club. So That'll be pretty fun. Nate, I want to toss it over to you. I see you've got a chart pulled up over here in the thing. Is that
Yeah.
relevant to the stuff we were talking about with the?
Yeah. It was kind of to what Bean was saying, where we're not having as much quantitative easing. However, what we are getting is money printing again, which is real nice. And you can see here, this is one hell of a freaking drop. So you can really tell that Jerome he really was trying to stop inflation. As you can tell, I've got this thing here where it's like less purchasing power, the higher it goes up, more purchasing power, the more it goes down. And as you can tell, it never goes down. So except for basically now. So Jerome really actually did a pretty good job, I would say, helping give us more purchasing power here. But yeah, we're on to money printing once again. Quantitative easing. Yeah, I kind of wish we would get into that a little bit faster, maybe a little bit heavier. But yeah, he's being what's the word? Dovish. Am I correct about that? He's being super dovish. He doesn't want to cut rates like at all.
Yeah, he's being dovish. It's interesting because I think he would have cut rates by now, and I think honestly, if I were in his position, I probably would lean towards cutting rates. But I think the one thing that he's unsure about is the policies surrounding tariffs, because it really brings an unknown into this scenario, right? It's like something that he can't control, and he doesn't necessarily know how it affects the market. So therefore, because the labor market is doing well and inflation is continuing to go down, he doesn't feel the need to necessarily push to drop rates faster with this sort of elephant in the room, this uncertainty regarding tariffs. So personally, I think there's a better chance that he would have already started to cut them, but we'll see. I think personally, again, we should start cutting, but doesn't look like it's going to come anytime soon. But I'm also worried that he started raising rates too late. Took him too long in the beginning to raise rates, and that was what caused inflation to skyrocket. I'm a little worried that he's going to take too long to cut rates, because we're already dealing with lagging data, that we might be on both ends of the spectrum. He starts raising them late, and he cuts them late. So we'll see. But everybody else is cutting. See what happens.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone else is cutting, but then everyone else is not doing new types of tariffs, right?
Correct.
And even though the world basically has just been screwing over the United States with their high tariffs, they already know what's going to be happening with their own tariffs, since they've had them for years and years and years. But for the United States, we've kind of been the world's piggy bank at this point, just giving out free money. And so now that you're right, now that the United States, I should say, is starting to up the tariffs quite a bit, that's scaring a lot of the market. And it's actually quite funny to watch Trump be like, oh, we're gonna have a tariff war, right? And the market either drops drops a ton, or like spikes back up based on what he's doing. And the whiplash that Trump is causing in the markets really is quite a lot of fun to watch. I'll admit that.
Yeah, and I'll say, look, we're only going to have this sort of uncertainty for a while, because we have midterms in the United States, 2-year election cycles, essentially. If Trump wants to keep a Republican House and a Republican Senate, he's going to have to ensure the markets are looking good and everybody's happy leading into that election cycle. So, he only has so long to give this choppiness with tariffs, and he can do it for a year, but after that, he really needs to buckle down and focus on smoothing things out. So we're already starting to see that. We're already starting to see smoothing out with China. Really good news, I think, with the China and the trade deal that looks like it's imminent there.
Absolutely.
We had a good trade deal with the UK, India. Looks like Switzerland's coming on. I think what's interesting? We thought Europe and the EU would be one of the ones that did a trade deal so quickly. You know what? Might be a while since we have a trade deal with the EU. That one is looking like it's a bit more challenging, just because we're so diametrically opposed from a standpoint of what Trump's trying to do versus what the EU is trying to do. But that is another conversation for another day.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell you right now that the EU is probably there, aside from like China and maybe Canada. The EU has really been just relying solely on, quite frankly, stealing United States money to be able to fund themselves over there. And so the EU is really, really, really upset at Trump for him putting all these tariffs up. And yeah, I think they're just going to go hard at it, be just incredibly stubborn, and they're not going to. It's going to take a while.
We shall see.
We shall see. I don't know if the EU is the same like power structure that they used to be, or if they wield a whole lot of influence or sway over what goes on in the world anymore. But they remind me of a committee. You know, it's just like it's so long to get anything done pushing through a committee. I don't know how many countries are in the European Union, but I know that it's not like any one centralized leader that can say like, hey, we're doing this, hey, we're doing that. Like we have the benefit of doing that here in the States, but they're over there probably bickering and arguing. And I'm just kind of speculating here. I literally know nothing about the European Union. So I'm just applying the peanut brain analogy of like a whole bunch of people trying to do one thing versus one people doing one thing. You're going to be slow. It's going to be inefficient. Most people are probably going to be unhappy with like what the results are. But you know, that's my 2 cents on the European Union from a completely like uninformed position.
27 countries, but we don't need to get to the EU right now, but 27 countries.
Yeah. Jinkies. That's ridiculous. Well, so that's is that all your guys' thoughts on the new stuff? Because if it is, I would like to pivot into talking about some Hex and some t-shirt stuff and what's going on with Mr. Chrispy Man. Nate, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just one last thing.
Yes.
So right now we're starting to see the effects with Bitcoin going up and all that. And of course we're all waiting for Ethereum, but frankly, like I've been saying it for 2 months now that we're just waiting for the tariffs to kick in. And it seems like they're starting to kick in, but also like you need to look at all of these trade deals that's happening. I mean, we just got done getting Trump just went to the Saudi Arabia,
the Emirates,
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then Qatar, and freaking came out with $3 trillion worth of investments. You know, like what all this is kind of boiling up to, especially with like all the large companies coming back to the United States for production and all that. What this is going to turn into is by the time we hit like Q4 or Q1 of next year, right? All of this stuff will have really started truly generating money for the United States of America. I think that's where, let's just say the massive pump of all pumps is going to happen, because the United States of America is the largest market in the world aside from maybe China, right? China's like number 2. So it's basically we're waiting for China, United States to get their shit together, right? And then we're just waiting for all that money to start generating in. And what's going to happen is you're going to have people wanting to go spend money. And when they want to go spend money, when they got money to spend, right? Where are they going to go in crypto? Well, they're not going to go to Bitcoin. They're going to go straight to the altcoins. And with the altcoins, the first one you go to is Ethereum. And once Ethereum goes up, this thing on the hat goes up as well. So with that transition, we can go ahead and move into Hex.
That's super smooth, bro. I like that. That was well played. I fucking love Hex, and I love this shirt. This was given to me by the Grateful Dawn, by the way. Dawn, I can't remember what else to call him, but Grateful Dawn, super cool and awesome. He was at the Pulse Chain conference, and he sells these fantastic Hex.com and Pulse Chain shirts and other cool merch. But like,
I want one.
Chrispy, man, I see you've got a fantastic cigar over there. We were talking about Hex in the green room before the show went live, and I remember a whole bunch of people have been talking about S-Load when it comes to the staking and the unstaking of Hex. And so for the folks at home who have never staked or unstaked Hex, I'll give it a really brief little description. S-Load is essentially the command that's ran when you end a Hex stake, and the contract goes back and it reads each and every single day that your Hex has been staked, and it has to pull from hard disk memory the T-share, or not the T-share, but the Hex payout rate of every single day that was in your stake. And that's expensive on Ethereum because they had an upgrade at some point, and they made the gas price for that more costly, which is why Pulse Chain was created. But recently, Ethereum's been going through a couple of new upgrades and things, Mr. Chrispy Man, and I know that they've been working towards improving a couple things. And I wanted to ask, like, is there any difference now on Ethereum with Hex staking than there was before? I know that the Ethereum price is lower, but is there any different computational cost with unstaking Hex on Ethereum, or has that changed at all since they've started implementing these new upgrades recently?
I don't think it has anything to do with the upgrades.
Okay.
But I think it does have to do with the price of gas. Maybe somebody could correct me on it. Like my last one that I had done, they unstaked was like $75, right? And that's
do you know how many days it was staked for?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now. I go back and check, but it we're talking almost at the beginning, right? So 2-3 years. So, it always depends on what time of day you're doing it, et cetera, et cetera. So gas costs will come down, right?
Sure.
But comparatively, but it's still expensive. Like one of my stakes is just, it's not worth anything, right? I mean, it just was small enough that, that maybe at 20 cents would have been okay, 10 cents, but not now. So now it's just sitting there dying. So you have those kinds of things. But yeah, I think the future for eHex is real. Right? They ain't going anywhere. It's on the blockchain. People are going to keep participating. I mean, they're going to have the tokens. And so as long as there's somebody willing to put up LP and make a market, you're just going to see that continue to go on. Now, what will it look like? Don't know. It could be very volatile. Maybe the guy from Maximus DAO, he launches that L2, right? Dip catcher, and it does wonderful. I don't know. People would have to go build on it, right? But yeah,
I've certainly enjoyed swing trading the hex pairs because there's been a pretty good range.
Dude.
People swing trade. If people like to swing trade,
crazy.
With my non-staked bags, I have been doing some swing trading with Hex, and it's been very successful just because the range that it's been bound within, just compared to each other, not from price standpoint, has been pretty easy to trade for a while now.
Is it like crabbing or something? You mean?
No, just Hex versus eHex. Like it generally is going from like 3-to-1 to 4-to-1. Like it's kind of very often between that range. So trading from Hex into eHex in one way, and then eHex into Hex the other way. So it's been pretty good. And then the other thing is, ETH Gwei is really low right now, really low. But ETH price is really low. When ETH starts to go up again, gets into the 4,000, the 5,000, starts getting to new all-time highs, they haven't fully fixed the gas issue. The gas issue isn't fixed. It's just the price is depressed. So no one's really paying so much attention to the network. So once that happens again, I mean, it's still going to have a big issue unstaking EX at least.
Yeah, a lot of the issue with Ethereum is those L2s, right? So I think when it comes to eHex, unstaking now is probably going to be your best bet. But I don't know. Do you think that as Ethereum, gets more popular again, as the institutions start kind of going crazy with the ETFs, do you think that even with those L2s, Ethereum, just the L1 itself, is going to get like overly expensive again? Or do you think that they will fix the Gwei to make it cheaper?
Are you asking me, or are you asking Chrispy? I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think they've been putting in some small changes that have made a difference. But until they actually implement something that makes a big difference from an L1 standpoint, like you said, a lot of the traffic's gone to L2s, not using the native ETH token. But there are some things that they're talking about. And I don't want to get too deep down the ETH rabbit hole. But there are some things that they're talking about recently that could be very beneficial for ETH. I'm still bullish on it. I don't know if anyone heard, but Pulse Chain SAC wallet, number 2 in the holding of ETH Strategic Reserve. Pretty nice. I feel like that's one of the few times that we haven't been gate kept and someone actually put pulse chain on a major website. Pretty amazing. And I do respect that, and shout out to our man Fabda.eth, I believe is his name. And
for the folks at home who don't know what you're talking about, can you give it a brief elevator pitch?
Yeah.
To let
So
them know?
Fabda.eth has created a website called the Strategic Ethereum Reserve. So essentially, it keeps track of all of these companies, governments, entities that hold Ethereum as a strategic asset.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, the Ethereum Foundation has, in fact, I can just share my screen. I can just pull this up real quick.
Yeah, please do. I haven't seen this yet. I saw something about it real quick on X, but I had to work, so I haven't gotten a chance to look at it yet.
So I talked about this not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, in regards to Pulse Chain going to be added. Let me know when you can see that.
Look at that. That is beautiful.
So this is the Strategic ETH Reserve. So Fabda.eth, shout out. By the way, he said nothing but really positive stuff to say about the passion and the community building that is Pulse Chain and Hex. So I really appreciate that from someone that's so involved in the Ethereum community. But so Richard Hart tweeted a week and a half ago saying, last week, saying, looks like you're missing a strategic reserve. And he said, and then we all blew up that post and tagged Fabda.eth. And he said, wow, what a turnout for the Hex and Pulse Chain community. We will be adding this. And he responded personally to a lot of private DMs from the Pulse Chain and Hex communities. And here we are. We are now on the Strategic ETH Reserve website, showing as the second largest holder, right? This is just the Pulse Chain sacrifice wallet. This isn't Richard Hart's ETH. This isn't, anything in the Hex sacrifice or anything like that, just Pulse Chain. And you can see some of the entities here, right? U.S. government, 60,000, some other random DAOs and other smaller companies. But even Coinbase is third to the Pulse Chain sacrifice wallet. So this is going to get a lot of eyeballs on the Pulse Chain community. And you click here. It's pretty cool. It takes you right to pulsechain.com. Can you see that if I click on that? Or can you just see?
No, we only see the background. We don't see any pop-ups.
Got it. So if you see this Pulse Chain SAC, if you click on this, it takes you literally to pulsechain.com. If you click on this, it takes you legitimately to pulsechain.com. So this is like a huge opportunity to bring new eyeballs, new people into the community from a very well-known entity, which is Ethereum. So this is super bullish. And not only that, but just him talking so positively about the community and all of the people in it, the passion, how people show up and show out when they see something that involves their ecosystem. And even when people have said something negative, like Eric Wall on his post about the Pulse Chain ecosystem, he turned it into a positive. So a lot of really cool things there.
There's a lot of great marketing, and I do enjoy that, and that gets a lot of people over. It gets a lot of people over into Hexaco, into the Pulse Chain side of Twitter, and they're starting to see things that they don't normally see because we have been gatekept for a long time. I think that we've recently been kind of, I don't want to say robbed of our main marketing point, but like our main marketing point in Hexaco was like, you guys can get 40% APY for a super long period of time. This is kind of the direction I want to take the conversation. Is recently, for those of you guys that are pretty new to Hexaco or pretty new to Hex staking, the origin address, which owns most of the Hex that's in existence, has taken almost all of the Hex. I want to say it's over 95% on both Ethereum and Pulse Chain, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but he's staked the origin address has staked out almost all of the Hex on both Ethereum and Pulse Chain for staking ladders all the way up to 15 years. And so a lot of the yield that most folks were getting on Hex has been reduced, and a lot of it's now going to the origin address instead. And this is kind of the topic that I wanted to pick Chrispy Man's brain on, both from a technical perspective and from like a marketing perspective. I don't know a whole lot of the details on how the share rate is calculated and how things grow over time. But I know that it's a total different marketing point to switch from like, hey guys, go stake your Hex at hex.com and you can get 40% APY measured in the amount of tokens that you receive. And now I want to say it's a little bit different than that. Chrispy, I think we were talking before the show, is like it's dropped down to something around like certificate of deposit status or treasury bill status at like 4 or 5%.
Yeah, I think you can put a nice ladder together now that'll pay 4 to 5%, which could be different than what people see when they go look at the average that's out there.
Yeah.
Because an average is a calculation of open stakes and what they're getting. But yeah, I mean it definitely has changed the landscape, and I think it's set up to reward those people who believe in Hex and the use case of Hex, which is setting up staking ladders with Hex. And I think there's still a there in the future. Like, greatest thing you could possibly do within our ecosystem is to make sure you have that exposure to Hex. Though it has changed my thinking a little bit. I've been going through that as well.
Yeah.
Where, like how so if I'm talking to my other self about how do you participate and live through all this stuff, I think that I'm no longer in the cultish camp of stake everything 100%.
Yeah. I have definitely changed from that perspective as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? Because I know that's how that would make us strong. But man, even with the 4 of us, like, we were the only ones participating. We all agreed and did it. Then we'd like send it through the roof, right? Because we would be holding to that line. But then if one of us is oversized and decide they're going to get out, boom, drops the whole thing, right? And that's essentially the dynamics of anything, right? So
you're talking about the price fluctuation.
Yeah, the whole use of the system, the adoption of the system, and so I think we got to be realists that got a lot of people that are involved that are not here for WAGMI. They're here for YOLO themselves, personal YOLO.
Really,
and that's life, right?
What was your thought, Brendan?
I think more and more, I think it's going to people, just having a selfish attitude towards things in the Hex and Pulse Chain communities as well. See a lot of selfishness going around, a lot of individual value extracting. And, the one thing that you also need to take into consideration with Hex is the price appreciation, right? Like, if you get 5%, but the price appreciates, 1,000% or 500%, then you're going to have a lot more. Problem is, if you can't sell it and you miss that, then the 5% isn't going to do you much. So there is definitely two sides of the coin now. I obviously still have a lot of stakes out there myself, but it's changed the way that I think about staking now and what I'm going to do when the bear market comes around again.
I think if
that's what I'm going after, Bean.
It feels like Richard he's definitely working up to something. I feel like there's a grander plan here. And I do know that Richard, he really wanted to make like a better Bitcoin because Bitcoin let him down. And so I wonder if he wanted to add a little utility to a store of value and then have people, kind of like how for a lot of different yielding protocols, it's generally that at the very beginning, the yield is really high and then the yield goes way down over time, right? Well, in this particular case, I wonder if he did the same thing with Hex to get people excited about Hex, got the mantra of getting your paychecks out further. And so if you staked for 15 years, right, that very first beginning where you got a lot of yield is kind of like the extra sugar that was added. And overall, he wants to turn Hex into something of a store of value, a lot like Bitcoin, right? Originally, what you did before stable coins is you would take whatever coin you had, like Litecoin, and you would sell it into Bitcoin, and that was your store of value. And I do kind of wonder if that's the same direction that perhaps Richard wants to go with it. However, you still have, and maybe he'll wean off of the yielding almost entirely. We don't know, but I think we're getting to a place now where over the next couple of years, perhaps in the next cycle, you're going to be seeing Hex being used as a supplying for actual yield protocols, right? So you put your money into Hex, or you take your other coins that are on the chain, right? And then you put all that, you transfer all that value into Hex itself, and then into Hex you put it into some protocol that somebody created, right? Maybe something like Flex, right? Put all your money into Hex, go take out a stable loan on Flex, and then put those stable coins into the yielders there, right? The pool there. I kind of get the feeling that there's a grander plan here, because when you're looking at the way that, like, say, an economy is set up in any country, you've got your gold, which is the reserve currency basically for all of countries and all of humans in general, because we all love gold and we all need it, and it's also supposed to be the most stable, the flight to safety. But then you have things like oil, right? And oil runs the country. Everything runs off of oil. We're getting to newer stuff now, like precious metals, just metals in general, rare earth, right? That's going to start running all the newer technologies. Well, that's becoming extremely important as well. And so things evolve, right? And I kind of wonder if the same sort of thing is happening with Hex, and then in the Pulse chain, Pulse X, we're evolving those things.
Let me throw something at you with this, right? So the future's unknowable because we don't know the plans, right? But to a certain extent, I mean, what changes we've made. But what I would like to say is, like, I'm extremely bullish. Like, it probably sounds to some people like I'm backing off being bullish. I'm not. I'm like extremely bullish that Hex is going to be, Hex holders and stakers are going to be like rewarded in an ungodly way, like in a way that'll make you kind of like shake your head, and people be like, I can't believe this. But people had 5 years to get in and do it, and they didn't. If they didn't, they didn't. And if they got out, they got out. That's fine. And at this point, it is just a matter of faith. It's a matter of, hey, in the past there were green candles, and I believe that can happen again. And then a matter of faith going forward. But boy, my heart's turbulent over this whole thing, because like I've, on the personal side of things of dealing with my own stuff, I'm like, I cannot rely on, and this is true anyways, guys, right? This does sound stupid. I cannot rely on somebody else pumping my own bags. So I better figure out how to pump my bags, whatever that is. And I need to figure out how to take profits. And I need to be able to do that before, as we're going along. And that's what I'm always about anyway. So it's kind of recursive kind of conversation. But yeah, and so to that end, super bullish. I think we need to take care of ourselves. But I think you need to also be aware that the situation with Hex has changed to such an extent that if you're listening to this, you even believe a little bit, go look again, because if you don't have T-shares, you're going to be really sorry. That's just my opinion.
Because T-shares are still deflationary.
Yep.
In an extreme way. They
always
so with the lowering of everything, the T-shares are going up at a very high rate. In cost of Hex, because it's because of the last 5 years of stakes that are driving that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the reason why as soon as the OA staked out, I went and staked every single last one of mine as well, because I wanted the T-shares. I didn't care about the yield. I wanted those T-shares, and I wanted to lock those in for myself, being very selfish. So I wonder, going with the Hex is a better Bitcoin idea. If you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin when it was only a penny, and then you held it until for 4 cycles, okay, that's 16 years. Where would you be now? Multi-billionaire. A lot of Bitcoin. So I wonder if it's the same thing.
You're too young to actually be able to say you could have done that, right? But, like
Oh, 2011, I was in college.
I literally could have done that. I could have stuffed the envelope with $1,000 and sent it and mailed it to Canada, and then the guy would have given me the paper wallet, right? That it probably wouldn't have been a penny. It probably would have been at a higher number. But man, it was like, it was at the time, it was like, this is insane. Why would I do this? You know, you're gonna get scammed. And $1,000 was a lot of money, you know?
Yeah.
But let's take your numbers, right? So what you said a penny a Bitcoin, which it literally was down that low.
Yep. And you only put in $100, you know, just $100.
So it's $100 for $1.
Throwing,
right?
Yep. You're literally taking one of these right here, and you're just like,
so you got 10,000. You got 10,000 Bitcoin, buddy, in your wallet right now. 10,000, buddy.
Nice.
10, you know what's interesting? I was looking at stakes earlier this week. I think I was seeing the return at around 20% for a year stake.
Not
on one t-shirt.
Only if you're lucky. I know. Yeah. I think
I want to say that
that's more than what I had seen previously. So I'm wondering if something changed again a little bit. I know it rotates depending on stakes and a lot of other things, but
yeah, well, you're definitely not getting 20% for a year stake, because it was 8% before they always staked.
Yeah.
And so you're definitely not getting that now. And so it has changed quite a bit. I'll pull something up on the back end here. But,
I think that here's I don't want to shift the conversation too much. I know by the way, Bill, we see you in the green room. We're adding you now shortly. We're getting the cameras arranged and things, but one of the things I've been thinking about is like the old marketing play for Hex used to be like, oh, you'll get rich quick, it'll be awesome, like you can just print as many coins as possible. And now with the lower APYs, it's like, to me it seems like, oh, it's the new 401k. It's the new thing that's like your long-term savings investment vehicle. Maybe not necessarily like if you want to use it for staking, right? If you want to use it for speculation, then do as thou wilt. But for the purposes of staking, I see it as being similar to 401k, similar to retirement now, more so than like, degenerate online gambling. And like what you were saying earlier, Chrispy man, the price action has to support that. If it's doing the crazy volatility, then it's not necessarily going to answer that same question for people in the same manner as it used to, right? One of Richard's older talking points is like volatility is the price you pay for the world's like best performing asset, or something along those lines. And when you start moving that out further and further into the future, you start compounding that volatility risk. And when you've got that volatility risk in conjunction with low APY measured in terms of the coin that it's yielding, then everybody has to ask that question and determine their own little personal risk levels to their own little point. So I think that like the direction it's shifted towards, at least for me, as far as my understanding goes, would be more in the realm of like, hey, this is more of a 401k kind of thing than like a degenerate gambling, and it's more of like a savings type deal. But again, that relies a little bit more on price stability and things like that. So I want to welcome Bill, by the way, to our stream. Welcome, Bill. For those of you guys that don't know, this is Bill, Mr. C3Works of the Actuator. For those of you guys that have never heard of Actuator before, we're talking about hex staking. These guys have got a really cool protocol. This allows you to, if you create an encapsulated hex stake, which is essentially like a hex stake that you can turn into an NFT and send around to all sorts of places. It's still the same stake. It's just wrapped up in a portable NFT bubble, and you can send that over to all sorts. You can send it from one wallet to another. You could send it to yourself and tokenize it and move it, or sell it to a different protocol, or you could send it to the Actuator protocol, and then from there, you can give it to the Actuator protocol, and the Actuator protocol will mint tokens that represent one piece of hex in the future that you can buy and sell today for whatever the market determines the price to be. So that's my little elevator pitch for the Actuator. I'm not sure if that's exactly the best way to put it, but welcome to the show, Bill. It's good to have you, broski. How are you doing, amigo?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me, and it's great to see you guys. I was catching just a few minutes of your conversation while I was trying to get my setup in here. Love what you're talking about. Really important stuff, and it sort of captures some of the goals we wanted to embody within the actuator protocol. So I loved your quick synopsis. There's always more that we could talk about, but I think that the conversation you were on is an important one, and it's worth recognizing that Hex is a very premier asset. T-shares are very premier assets, and learning how to manage those, handle those, accumulate those, and build a portfolio of those is a really important discipline. And it goes way beyond some pure speculation stuff. You can always speculate on something, but this has more horsepower than that. And so to serve you well, you do well to understand the fullness of what Hex and T-shares are, what they're bringing, the way they're enabling you to capture the time value of money, which is the essence of economics in the first place. And the way you're passionately, I heard a little bit of Chrispy Man stuff going on there about the, look, you have to learn to handle things responsibly. It's sort of like any powerful tool you're given. You can, cut your arm off with a chainsaw if you're not careful with it, right? You can do dumb things with a powerful tool. If you do, it isn't the tool's fault. The tool is made for some very particular purposes, and you need to learn to use them properly and grow proficient in the use of a tool, especially one that's got some sophistication to it. And then it serves you well. So whether you want to think of it like I heard someone mentioning, like a 401k, like a long-term savings program, like a, you could think of it like a personal endowment. You can use a lot of analogies, and they would all be true, but they would all share the common attribute that you want to learn how to use them more and more effectively. But you don't wait until you think you know everything to start with something. So start with something that you can apply relatively quickly, and then learn how to grow from there. And that applies within the Hex community. It certainly applies with Actuator. Anyone that's listened to me talk with folks about the Actuator protocol, it has some very simple starting points, and you can begin with those. And there are some fairly sophisticated things that we think will attract large capital. We hope it will, and it's built to do that, as it grows in liquidity and use. And those same rules apply there. Start somewhere, learn, and grow.
I like that, bro. That's good. Well, welcome to the stream, broski. It's good to have you in with us. That was quite the informative speech you gave there. I like it. I've used the Actuator protocol myself. I've had some great fun learning how to use it. I remember Nate, you and I had a little private convo. I don't know if we streamed about it, but I know that we were fiddling around with it when it first came out, dude. And we were just like jumping all over the place. I think that you minted some unique tokens, didn't you, when it first came out?
I did a I think it was like a 1338 token or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was no liquidity in it and all that, so it was so it's like, oh crap, I need to undo this now.
So real quick to kind of explain what Nate's talking about, I'm gonna rewind a little bit. With the Actuator protocol, there's 3 tokens currently that exist that are supported by the protocol, and there could be more later in the future, depending on how folks use it and the way that things roll. But there's HTT 3000, 5000, and 7000, and those represent 1 Hex token that you can trade that 3,000, 7,000, or 5,000. Those each represent 1 Hex at that day into Hex's protocol. Right now in Hex, I want to say like we're pretty close to day 2,000. I don't know exactly what day we're at, but it's either 19 something or 2,000 something. We're close there. So within the next 1,000 or so days, HTT 3000, you'll be able to trade them on the Actuator protocol 1-for-1 swap with Hex. Right now, 1 HTT 3000 token is about 60 to 70% of what the cost is of 1 Hex. So if you want Hex in the future and you want to get it at a discount now, you can buy HTT 3000 off the market, and you can get yourself 1 guaranteed Hex token at a 70% discount using the Actuator protocol when day 3000 finally comes to fruition. Same thing with day 5,000, day 7,000, and they each trade at a different spread, different ratio. And the way that those tokens become available is people use the Actuator protocol to like trade their own personal Hex stakes in to get these tokens and things minted. What it looks like you got a thought, Mr.
Hey,
Chrispy.
yeah, well, just to add to that, when you talk about that discount is to the current price in terms of Hex.
Yep.
Does not include the potential price appreciation, right?
That's true.
Yep, that's correct.
Well,
and it's day 1999 for anyone that doesn't know. We're partying 99.
Like
by Limp Bizkit, 1999. Shout out to Limp Bizkit, wherever you guys are at.
Come on, stream Limp Bizkit. I haven't met him.
I think
I got some hot dog flavored water over here and a couple chocolate covered starfish.
Yes, I was hoping that I wasn't the only Limp Bizkit fan in the room, but yeah, I think I described it pretty well. But Bill, is there anything in there that I'm kind of missing?
No, not as a starting point, right? That's you start with the trunk, which is what you said, that it's a protocol to give you some access to liquidity within your tokenized HSI. So what that requires, though, is a two-sided market, which we have. There are those that want to avail themselves of the liquidity, so they will create the HSI, delegate it to the protocol, mint out the HTTs, and sell them on the open market. That gives them the liquidity. Now they have Hex back and they can do something with it, like go into another product or add to their number of T shares or all manner of things. So that's the guy who wants to sell his minted HTTs. On the other side of that market is somebody who simply wants to buy HTTs at the discount to get the appreciation from the discount, as you described. And they meet in the middle at an agreed upon discount.
So there's pretty darn thick liquidity, respectively for a lot of tokens in the Pulse Chain ecosystem. There's some pretty darn good liquidity for the HTT 3,000, 5,000, and 7,000. So like this isn't just some little $1,000 pool that you guys can go in and you trade like $500 and you make a big splish splash red candle, green candle. This is like there's a couple tens of thousands of liquidity and. It's a good protocol. They also incentivize liquidity providing. You can get actuator tokens, I believe, if you provide liquidity between like Hex and any of the 3 HTTs. So like that's a really cool way. If you guys want to have one future Hex and one today HTT token, whatever the hell, and get fees from people trading back and forth in between the two of them, then you can do that using the protocol as well. You can also go and do it on the open market on any DEX that is your choice, any decentralized exchange. So there's a lot of really cool things that can be done with the actuator protocol. And where I want to take this conversation kind of is you guys launched this protocol before the origin address had done the massive staking ladders that it is. For those of you guys that don't know, again, about 90-something% of all Hex in existence was owned in what we colloquially call the origin address, right? It was just this big figure that never sells any Hex. All it ever does is just sit still and do nothing. And then after a little, it would send tokens from one address to another, but they would never sell or they would never buy on the open market. So like there was some movement, but there was never any paper handing or anything like that. So one of the things that the origin address did is it then staked out all of its Hex, or not all of it, but almost all of it, to the point where like now the yield so the origin address can no longer sell pretty much any of the Hex. So all that big narrative is dispelled and things. But what that does is it reduces the amount of Hex that is given out to Hex stakers that are already staked or new Hex stakers coming on the block. It reduces the amount of Hex that is paid out every single day to every single person that's got their Hex staked, whether they're using HSIs or native Hex stakes, whether they're in the Maximus DAO, whether they're part of another process or whatever thing. The amount of Hex that is being rewarded to Hex stakers has decreased. So since you guys have launched the protocol and up to now, there has been a change in the amount of Hex that is issued to users of the protocol. So the thing that I want to kind of war game between Chrispy Man, myself, Brendan, and Nate and you, Bill, is like what are different considerations that folks could have using the actuator protocol now versus when it was launched? Because the origin address always could have staked Hex, and it was never like we never really knew what was going to go on. Everyone is speculating here and there. It was always a possibility, but now it's a reality. So are there any sort of different considerations that folks can still take into account when using the actuator protocol for leveraging or for price speculation, or just general use case question? I'll kind of open up the floor for discussion here. Whoever would like to take this.
Yeah, well, I can throw. You got one, Chrispy? Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just throw this little piece out because you speak to all the details on it. It does not directly affect HTT discounts that we see on the market, right? And HTT is 1 hex, period. So whether there's more or less yield, it doesn't really change that. It does change how often a owner could accrue more value and print more HTTs. But from the outset, there's no change there, right? So that was a big question people had, like, away stake now, does that screw up all of actuator? No. Actuator 1 HTT is equal to 1 hex in the future. End of story.
That's very true. And that's an important thing to understand, because what you do with that knowledge that Chrispy Man just gave is you then see that regardless of what anything else does in the Hex universe, you have locked in a fixed rate of return. You have locked in a guarantee of your return in native Hex terms from the discount you bought it at. Maybe you bought one of the HTTs, 5,000 or 7,000 at 0.6 hex. You bought the discount of 0.6 and you're going to get back 1.0. Well, you're going to pick up that increase, that ROI increase over the course of the time remaining to the redemption day. And nothing is going to change that. Nothing the OA does is going to change that. Nothing about mining rates is going to do that. Nothing about penalty rates is going to do that. Nothing about anything is going to change that. You have a guaranteed thing that you exchange for 1.0 hex on the day. So fundamentally, it's important to recognize is HTTs that you purchase represent a different mechanism for accruing native hex than all the other products, which are fundamentally T-share based. That's not a better or worse. The goal is not to make a competition of any sort. The goal is to have augmenting mechanisms to manage a portfolio against the same native hex. T-shares are huge and wonderful, and I have my bag of those. And my goal in creating Actuator with our team was not to replace that mechanism, but to supplement it, much like you might in a bond portfolio this way. So let me give you an analogy. If you think about the bond market, there's this notion of a fixed rate bond, fixed coupon. You might think of a fixed rate loan. If you want to go take a mortgage out somewhere, you might want a 30-year fixed rate where that rate doesn't change. The prevailing rates in the market might go up or down. If they go down, you might want it, and you have a loan, you might refinance it. But if you own the bond and rates go down, your bond gets more valuable, period, because nobody gets to change that coupon on you. On the other hand, there are things called variable rate bonds or variable rate loans and those kinds of products. What that says is you may start out with a cheaper rate, and that might feel good relative to the fixed rate. But what happens if rates go up in that scenario? Ooh, that's painful if you're on the loan side, right? Because now you're having to pay higher and higher rates. And that might be more painful than if you just locked in a rate and had what you needed to plan and work with. So similarly, on the asset side here, there's times where when you look at the rates that are available, i.e. you look at the mining rates you can earn in Hex on T-shares, and you recognize that there is a variable rate to that, and there's some element of risk that they might have something like the OA did, and then the rates go down. Okay, you evaluate what sorts of risks that you might face with that are, and then you compare them to fixed rate product like this, where you can lock in a rate and decide, okay, I might need some of these right now because I have a lot of those. So it's a way of managing risk in your portfolio by sculpting different ways of earning native Hex. So
it's the same it's all still the same since the OA is staked. It's just the number of tokens that are available to the people that have their stakes delegated to the actuator are they're not entering into the shoot. How do I describe this well? There's HTT that people can pull out of their stakes at any given point if your stake is delegated to the protocol, right? So like if I go and I stake 100,000 hex to the protocol and I stake it out until like to end stake on day 3000, right? I can take and I can pull 100,000 HTT 3000 out of that protocol at the time that I create that stake and I delegate it to the protocol, and then I now have 100,000 HTT 3000 tokens in my wallet accessible to me at the time. And then as each day passes, whatever the current hex payout rate is for your T-share, that number of HTT 3000 theoretically is added to the amount that a person can withdraw from that delegated stake at any point in time, all the way up to the point where the hex would end stake, and then you can withdraw all of the theoretical HTT 3000s at that end state, and you have the same number of HTT 3000s as you would the same number of hex if you never delegated. You just get access to it earlier and earlier on. And upon obviously, like as we get closer and closer to day 3000, the price parity of those two assets should theoretically get closer and closer together to being 1.0 instead of 60% or 80% or 50% or whatever the heck, presuming that the market is acting logically. So like this is, yeah.
One nuance, though. One nuance.
Yes.
All those points were true with the one nuance, which is in the documentation, and it's a protection for the system. The last 10% is held in reserve. You won't get access to your last 10% because the protocol will not allow you to withdraw that, because that's preserved as an inducement to the community to end stake you if you don't end stake.
Correct.
Right. Now, what is pretty cool about this whole thing now, this is way in the weeds for people listening, but the change with the OA did make a change for me as a HTT minter, right? So whatever the calculation ends up being, I put 1 million hex in, I can create, we're going to just say for the sake of argument, 1 million HTTs, right? Well, like you were saying, if I came back in another month and we had accrued, I could go print some more. Well, it'll still do that, but it's doing it very, very slowly. And so it has changed the game theory, at least for the actuator system a little bit, because at least in the near term, everything's front loaded, right? I mean, if somebody goes and gets their tokens, they're going and getting those tokens, which means probably we'd have to actually see this play out. Probably there'll be more people that just won't come back because there just wouldn't be enough incentive for them later to go get more HTTs to pay it back. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this will play out over 15 years, but that's one of the possibilities, right? Because and then that's just better for the actuator system.
One thing I want to add as well, the HTTs that are borrowed by the user from the protocol, unless they are paid back to the protocol as HTTs, then you don't receive those hex when your stake ends. If it is ended by either you or by the community when you fail to end it yourself. So this is something for the folks at home to consider, is like if you stake all your hex out and you walk away with all your HTTs at the time, whenever you decide to withdraw them from the protocol, and then you go and you sell those HTTs on the open market and you get whatever value that is worth. If you don't come back and repay those HTTs to the protocol, then you miss out on that amount of hex tokens at the time of your stake ending. Now, if whatever the yield is in between those two times, you still receive that at the end of the protocol when either you or someone else ends your hex stake. And so that's something to be aware of, is like the user who creates the stake, as long as they don't keep taking HTTs out the entire time up until that 10% that you were talking about, Bill, As long as they don't do that, they still receive the yield that is given by the HTT. So like what a lot of people were doing when this protocol first came out is they would, you'd stake, and I know this because I did it, is like you go and you stake, we'll just say like a million hex, right? And then you immediately get access to, if you stake it out for not Quattro Cinco, but like 5,200 days, whatever the math was that got you up to HTT 7,000, if you stake that amount and you withdraw that number of so you stake 1 million hex, you get 1 million HTT 7,000. You could then sell those HTT 7,000 on the open market for, let's just say 500,000 hex. And you get that 500,000 hex. You go back to the actuator protocol. You stake out that 500,000, and then you get those 500,000 HTTs. You go sell that on the open market. You get 250,000 hex. And you just keep repeating that process till you're like basically down to nothingness. You can effectively get more hex than you would if you'd have just staked it natively in the first place, because you're still getting all of your original yield. You're not getting the principal, but you're getting all the yield for the duration of that hex stake. So presuming that the yield is greater than 100% of the value of the original stake, then you're effectively not compounding, but you're I don't know what the mathematical word is, but you're increasing the amount of effective hex that you will receive at the time that that HTT, or that the time hex day 7,000 comes to an end, because you're taking all of the delayed gratification out, you're doing it in the immediate, and then you're immediately restaking that same number out and pushing it forward. This is a cool thing that I learned about when I first did the actuator protocol, and I think I did a stream about how to do that, but it was super cool and awesome. But one thing to consider is, like, instead of getting 40% APY like we used to be, like Chrispy Man was saying earlier, now it's 5% or 4% or whatever the math ends up being with the new share rate and the new Hex daily payout system. I think Hex daily payout right now is like 1.5 hex per day per T-share. So whatever that ends up being at the end of the stake, like instead of getting like 4 or 5 or like 3 to 4 times your original amount of hex stake by doing this compounding method, now you're probably getting like 120% or 150% of your original amount. It's just using the actuator protocol gives you this possibility, and you could do this today, 3,000 or 5,000 or whatever the heck. But that's a tool that was available. It's just now changed since there's been the Hex origin addresses started staking. Bean, I see you got yourself off mute. What's your thoughts, broski? Yeah,
the only thing I was gonna say is, this have to be Hex stake instances, right? So these have to be HSI stakes.
Yep.
And I don't know if we said that or not yet, but if you go to hex.com and you stake it, that is not an HSI. That's not a Hex stake instance. So you could do it on Actuator Protocol. Mm-hmm. You can do it a couple other places, but it has to be an HSI stake for this to be able to work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Actuator is a great protocol. And I know, Bill, we've had you on a couple of times. That one show we really went in depth was super helpful for me, and I've been a fan ever since. And yeah, I've really enjoyed using the protocol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. It's really good to examine. It's important to start relatively simple, understand what the HTT is, understand what you benefit from by buying an HTT, and what would cause you to choose to mint and sell the HTT, because you're on opposite sides of the same market. So you want to make sure that whatever your objective is at the time you're doing it is consistent with what the market is bringing to you. But it's a great way to achieve liquidity objectives and risk management as you begin to learn about it.
Now, let me ask you a question, Bill. This is a hypothetical. There's no 100% perfect answer on it, but obviously they end at different times. And when we look at crypto, we kind of look at 4-year cycles. So HTT 3000 kind of sits maybe at the beginning of the next sort of upward bull market. 7,000, 9,000. Like, did you set these up for specific end dates based on market and the 4-year cycle, or how did you come up with these days specifically?
Oh, that's a great question. The answer is it had nothing to do with 4-year cycles. We weren't going to try to impute our belief about cycles on anybody else's anything out there. That's for the market will take care of that. Our goal was to provide a short-term aim, a mid-term aim, and a long-term aim. That was it. So you had to have something near the 15-year point. We ended up with the Dace 7000 at the time it was launched. And that was going to also accommodate most of where the Hedron auction HSIs were. So we figured that was a necessary one to accommodate that group. Then we needed something in the mid-range, and Day 5000 did that, and something on the short range. Because when you think about the objective we had of incubating a native hex yield curve, well, a yield curve by definition has different maturity lengths, if you will, or redemption days in mind. So the trade-off, especially when you start a project like this, is how many different points, but you divide the liquidity available up across all of them. So the more points we start with, the less liquidity each one would have. So we're trading that off. And we felt that the one long-term, mid-term, and short-term was the right striking of the balance between the number and the amount of spreading of the liquidity into those pools. Now, that's why that was for year one. In year two, which starts in early October this year, we'll see 2 more pools come online, and they'll fill in some gaps, right? It'll be HTT 4000 and 6000. So now it'll fill in the gap a little bit. And then in year 3, we get HTT 8000 for the first time rolling in. And by then, it's our belief and hope, especially if we have more and more conversations like this about it, the community is always free. If it's got a hole that it wants to fill, you could fill it right now. As I think Nate was talking about, you can go create an HTT. Now, that doesn't bring its own liquidity, does it? Right? Just because it's like creating your own token. That's nice, but what are you going to do with it? So, but if somebody or a group had a belief with some conviction that the community would be served well and they might benefit from a new pool, somebody could create one, but they would have, the duty to figure out how to get liquidity into it and then get it promoted and known about and see if others care. Now, it's less likely that many will care about something if it's too close to the existing farmable ones, because they can farm the ones that we put out there. But the farming ends at year 3, and then it's a level playing field.
Yeah, great answer. I mean, for me, I'm always thinking about cycles. I mean, with Hex, I do, staking ladders kind of makes you worry less about cycles when you have a staking ladder. But with the HTT protocol, because there's limited numbers, I do kind of always think of, hey, where would that land if the 4-year cycle was to continue? Now, look, we don't know if the 4-year cycles are going to continue forever, right? So it's also like a information that we look in the past, but we don't know about for the future. I have one other question for everybody here. Will, stop me if I ask too many questions here, but is there a possibility that the OA wallet reduces its hold on Hex by emergency end staking and essentially, giving money to all of the believers? Or would that actually hurt the protocol more because those people that are getting more rewards now are going to dump them more than the OA would?
I'll go ahead and take this first. I would say that that's an interesting war game idea that I think about often, where it's like, man, would the OA emergency end stake? And it's a fun thing to think about, because like if the OA did do that, then boy howdy, would there be a huge payout for everyone that's got Hex staked. Now, that would kind of flood the market of stakers with a ton of numerical value, while if that numerical value of tokens is not also met by a numerical value of liquidity, then you end up with a potential problem. I will also say that I'll say that I don't expect it to happen for 2 reasons. One, because it's an expectation of work on another person, which is one of the things that RH says that he does not do, is he doesn't do things that that people basically like develop expectations, or rather that he doesn't work for us, right? So it's an interesting board game idea, and two, it goes against what I would consider to be the branding of the origin address. And again, this is the expectation that I have developed for it, not necessarily an agreement that the origin address has said, but it's like, so far the origin address has not done anything to break confidence or something like that with Hex users. It has never done something that has any sort of negative externality. It has only done things that either one, support the protocol, or two, is nothing, which is, you know, the equivalent to not selling and holding and things like that. So if the origin address were to do the thing that I don't think Richard Hart wants people to do, which is keep their word with the contract that they write between themselves and the blockchain. I don't expect the origin address to do that, because I don't see that as being something that it would want other people to do. So more of like from a leadership perspective, I guess. That's my 2 cents on that. And I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Chrispy, I see you've come off mute. You got a thought, broski?
I was just being lazy. I didn't want to push the button twice later. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? So I agree with your analysis, Will, is more likely, in my opinion, that no, we're not going to see the OA do Mercedes 6. But it could, right? It could. So what the hell do I know? Now, here's the thing: is let's pull the string on that a little bit, right? Who's he going to pay? Who's it pay? He pays himself.
Yeah.
Right. Things have changed. Yeah. Things have changed so much that if you really want to go degen, like if we were building our own token and we didn't really care about what other people's opinions were, what everybody would be thinking. Well, we've seen that happen before in Hex, right? Well, anyways, what we could do is we could see him. He could be emergency end staking, pay himself 90% of the tokens, restake. Emergency end stake, restake. Emergency end stake, restake. And even if it was the number was 90%, he got 90% of it, and the other 10% goes out to the rest of us stakers. Well, all those stakes are spread out over the length of the biggest staking ladder in history, right? And so it doesn't immediately become liquid. So it's very little. It would affect things a little bit, but it's very little, and it's probably going to be less than what they would have been getting before you staked in the first place. But there's definitely the possibility. This is extreme. Anybody listen? This is kind of like an extreme, like make up a scenario, right? That we're going to see some sort of a flywheel of staking and unstaking. But I've heard people talk about the strategy before. The idea that this would be the way to reward everybody.
It is an interesting idea. It's incentives, right? One of the things that I was thinking about, though, is I think instead what RH would rather do, the OA wallet would rather do, is in just stake, then unstake in just a rolling ladder, maybe a monthly rolling ladder or something like that, and then receive 100% of those tokens to simply, eat up the supply itself.
Yeah.
And if he eats up the supply, then what does that allow to happen as soon as Ethereum goes up really high, right? Get about 74,000 or 7,400, and I mean, it just makes Hex a lot easier to move up, right?
I actually don't have my eyeballs on this close enough to tell you, but I don't think there's any OA stakes out there monthly. I think he just did yearly, and that was.
They were long.
Was it yearly?
Yeah,
so he's run out. He's got nothing to do.
And I will say that what does putting a lot of Hex into long stakes do? It makes the supply less, right? Because the supply is essentially gone. It's burned. It's not there. It just turns into T-shares. And that in itself can reduce supply and cause an easier chance to potentially pump as well.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that he was doing for a little while. He was doing like monthly stakes. And if he did 100% of the OA out, he did some of it a lot further out as well. But if he's done with those monthly rolling stakes and he's just done it out a year now, that would tell me that he's preparing himself for the pump, because he's trying to reduce the supply as much as absolutely possible. So yeah, that damn, that's not giving us a timeline of when things are going to pump, eh?
I'm just saying it's something important to look at. That's what I'm getting at.
So for those of you guys military or not, right? I just call it a rig for battle, right? That's how I see it. I see it as being rigged for battle. I mean, like anything could happen. Anything could happen. It's rigged. But I'll give you. Can I give you like my super degen?
On the DGen roundtable, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say roundtable. Come on.
So this is like double tinfoil hat, right? So you know how I told you, Will, I didn't think it was likely that the OA would do that, right?
Yes.
So okay, so you got to go back to the beginning, day one of the Telegram, and I was like, "What the hell is Telegram?" I didn't even know what Telegram was. Like, who are these people that are showing up in Telegram, and are they bots, right? Because there's a lot of bot stuff going on back then, like accusations that it was all made up because people would make telegrams, they all be filled with bots. So the beginning of Hex, beginning of Telegram, I didn't even know who the hell was there. Conspiracy theories all over the place. Me and 7 other people, maybe 15 other people. Then it grew pretty quick, right? So that set the kind of the seed for this conspiracy. Like, am I really the only staker? Maybe, like early on, it was like, am I the only one? Now I know there's others now, right? Because we didn't know each other and it wasn't quite as open as it is today, right? Anyways, I'm going to fast forward. Listen, I look at a lot of the stakes that go on and I look at a lot of the data and a lot of it don't make sense to me. And there is it's not the OA. There's another set of actors out there that own a lot of different stakes and they sure as hell could emergency end stake. And I don't know what their motivation is. I don't know why they would do it. And I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I like to think about it because that would be something like a transfer like 30 billion, 40 billion hex into staker hands. And what I'll point to is just like the odd behavior. If you go look at some of the wallets, I mean, some of them make sense, but otherwise, like, why is this person even emergency end stake? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I know that. Because I would have done it. I'm not as smart as Richard, but I mean, I look and I know that something lays in stakes, right? Preparing the system for the next 100 years, 150 years. I mean, you explain to me why there's something out there that stakes 1 hex.
Yeah.
2 hex. 3 hex. Why is this happening? Why is it still continuing to happen? Why can I go? You get somebody for fun. You want to go count them? I counted them once. You go count the number of stakes that are currently open. Well, I guess they'll all be open now for the short ones, but it depends on what they were. But stakes that are in there for, you pick a denomination: 1 hex, 2 hex, 3 hex, 4, 5 hex, 7 hex, 8 hex. More. Make up your own little nursery rhyme, right? You go out to over 1,000 hex. You find stakes at every single number, dude. Every single number. Now, I call that fruit on the vine. Fruit on the tree. Because eventually it ripens at the right price appreciation, etc. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of stuff built into this system that somebody laid in there. I don't know what the motivations are, but I think it's to reward the stakers. And I think that, so I'm backing off from saying, no, it won't be the OA. You can't track it. Like we had a big one today. I didn't check who it was. On one of the I think it was on Pulse Chain, that emergency end stake. Random? You tell me. Conspiracy theory. I don't know.
It's just a divorce. It's an ex-wife.
Yeah, another ex-wife deal. Yeah, it's the invisible hand, man. I don't know.
Bill, you had a thought that you wanted to say earlier, and I want to give you the floor.
Sure. Just another piece to this potential puzzle about would they end stake, should they end stake, game theory and all that might be this piece. And I recall this from years ago with Richard Hart, early in Hex. Maybe one of you will recall this too, but he made a comment, and I'm paraphrasing, so give me some latitude there, but that there's sort of envisioned 2 ways to reward Hex participants. There's yield and there's price movement, right? Each of those together represent total return in the product. And the interesting construct about Hex was that the OA, through its use of how much it staked or didn't stake, had control of which of those two variables was providing the reward at any given point in time. And so what's interesting as I think about it, and if you think about how that might be applied, it would be applied against the backdrop of the broader market movement, i.e. in a bear market, it's really tough to get reward from price movement. So what would you like to see happen? Well, we probably need some reward through yield. And so at that kind of a period, we've seen the OA not be staked so that the yield is the reward. But then we start to see environments change. It's almost like there's a preparation for the anticipation of the other reward, which is the price movement. And so we back out the yield dial and thin out the liquidity and make the preparations for the broader macro market that's going to give us that reward. And so it could be, as somebody highlighted, that this is just a consistent adjustment to the thinning of the liquidity and the acknowledgement that the broader market is lining up for some movement.
I like that theory. That's a good theory because I like being rewarded mostly. So it's like something that I'm interested in. So I'll latch onto that. I want to take a quick moment. Brendan, I see you've come off mute. Go ahead and say your piece, but I want to do a quick chat shout outs here in a minute, and then we'll get back to the convo. Go ahead, Brendan.
I didn't know I took myself off mute. So let's go to chat shout outs.
Oh, okie dokie then. All right. Mrs. Producer, if you are at the helm, let's go ahead and hop on into some chat shout outs. We're joined by my good friend, Mr. Ramon of Conspiracy Crypto. For those of you guys that don't know, check out his channel. It's freaking awesome. I love this dude. Good real life friend of mine. He says, "What's up, fam? Oorah, devil dogs. Oorah to you. Right back, Mr. Ramon. Good to see you. We've got some military on screen tonight. It's a good time, and I'm always glad to see you. An old friend in the chats. Welcome to the stream. Next up, we have got, I need to open up my started thing. There we go. Next up, we got Mr. Shell Fox with the double fire. Mr. Shell Fox is coming in from Chrispy Man stream. Good to see you, Shell Fox. We can't see you here in the DGen Roundtable chats on YouTube, but I can see you in the producer chair. So glad that we could have you with us tonight. Shout out to everybody that's watching over on Chrispy Man streams, either on X or YouTube. We freaking love you guys just as much. Next up, we got a question from Mr. Fox Mulder, which I believe has been answered in the chats, but he asked, do you guys know of an alternative to DBank? Was using it to track incoming transactions, but now that they've pulled Pulse Chain support, where do we go? So I don't know much about DBank from anything other than a portfolio tracker. I use Hex Scout to track my portfolio. If you're using DBank as a block explorer, then I know there's several options. I know that someone in the chat said Midgard. There's also the Pulse Chain dashboard has been added. I don't know if that does transactions, but there's quite a few options out there that exist. Perhaps somebody in the chat's more knowledgeable than I will answer you a little bit more thoroughly. But we've got to get through a lot of chat shout outs here. So
I'll just say, Will, it's disappointing that DBank doesn't support the chain anymore because it was good compared to some of the other ones that are out there right now that actually work with Pulse Chain.
DBank was fantastic, and we do miss them, and we would love for them to bring us back. Same with Rabby Wallet. If you guys, I know that you're both owned by the same cadre of amigos, so if whoever's pulling the strings up there will pull them more in our direction, I would greatly appreciate it. If y'all would do me a favor, for those of you guys up in what is it, Circle or whoever the heck, for those of you guys watching our show that work up there, go ahead and just bring us back. We'd love to have it. Next up in the chats, we've got Mr. Free X Band or Mr. Frex Band. I don't really know how to say that, but he says, "Hey, Johnny, it's good to see you. I don't think that we have, maybe Johnny Chaos was in the chats at some point tonight. I did not see him, but hello to you, Mr. Free X Band. It's good to see you, broski. Welcome to the stream. And I will tell Johnny Chaos that I say hello, or that you say hello next time I see him. After that, we've got Mr. Brightlight. Someone say agree. Had to troll. I gotta say, Mr. Brightlight is an excellent streamer. He created a very agreeable token. He's a cool cat, and we're glad to have you in the streams with us tonight, Mr. Brightlight. Shout out to you, broski. I love what you're doing. Then we got a chat. After that, we have one from Mr. Bill himself. C3Works says, "Hey, all just setting up. Glad that we could have you with us tonight, Mr. Bill. Thank you for hopping in the chats as well before we went live, or before we had you on live." After that, we got Mr. K. Hudson, and K. Hudson has two comments here because I forgot I started two of them. But he says, "The yield will be great. when Hex equals $1 plus. That will certainly be true if that happens. And I suspect RH will do some things to reduce the Hex supply. That is also an interesting theory. I like that suspicion. And remember, guys, these are all campfire stories. None of this is financial advice. We're all just kind of talking about our feelings here on the internet. So take it all with a grain of salt. Hashtag not financial advice. Like what Brendan's hat says, we freaking love it. Next up in the chat, shout out, we've got a fantastic supporter, Mr. Hex Monkey, a good friend of everyone here. We love you, Hex Monkey. Good to see you, broski. Fire right back on to you. He's coming in from Chrispy Man stream. So thank you, Chrispy Man, by the way, for dual casting. We appreciate it. You've brought lots of eyeballs over to us, and this is just absolutely awesome. We've also got Addy coming in after Mr. Hex Monkey. Addy is saying, what will Richard Hart do with the Ethereum reserves? Who knows what he'll do? I don't really expect him to do much of anything. It would be cool if he pumped the bags. It would be cool if he let it sat there. It'd be cool if he used it to provide liquidity. It would be cool if he, I don't know, did something I don't expect, which is probably going to be the case. But you had a quick thought there, Mr. Chrispy Man?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. We can't rely on anything being done. However, plan for everything, anything.
Yep, that's a
Right?
good.
So, yeah.
I will say that we know that the EOA wallet has purchased some coins in the ecosystem, has not purchased every coin in the ecosystem. So that's all that we know so far.
Are you talking about the SAC wallet or the OA wallet?
Sorry, SAC wallet. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. SAC
SAC
wallet.
wallet has purchased Pulse Hex Inc. Hex has not purchased eHex. That's all that I know. And we don't know if that'll be the same in the future, but that's all we've seen in the past. And it's been small increments, nothing large. It could have just been a try to see what happens, how that works. But again, if you have expectations that don't revolve around your own actions, then you're less likely to be successful.
I want to double tap on that point, specifically the word expectations. This is something I want everyone at home watching to think about. Is there's a difference between expectations and agreements. Expectations is akin to slavery, and agreements are akin to sovereignty. So far, everything that we've seen come out of Richard Hart is he's looking to increases people's ability to be sovereign individuals, to go and live their lives the way that they want to live, and to live as long and as happy and as well empowered as possible. When people engage in expectations with another, then it's basically saying, I have this hidden thing inside of my head that I'm holding another person essentially enslaved to inside my head, and they have not agreed to it, right? So there's a famous gentleman, Stephen Chandler, for those of you guys out there that are interested in coaching and interpersonal relationships. Stephen Chandler talks about this concept at length, and it's super fantastic and awesome. I highly recommend you guys listen to Stephen Chandler talk about expectations versus agreements. And I agree. We should not expect RH or the origin address or anyone for that matter to do anything. The only thing that we should really hold people to the fire for is things that they actively agree to do, that you engage in a conversation with somebody and you have a back and forth, a solid loop of communication, and then both people agree to things. If you're a boss and you have workers and you expect them to show up at 08 in the morning, then that's different than being a boss and having workers and saying, hey guys, the time that work starts in the morning is 08. You can agree to show up and continue working, or you can not agree to show up and you won't work here anymore, right? So there's implicit, explicit, and tacit levels of engagement that people do. But anyways, I just wanted to get to the point that expectations versus agreements, expectations is slavery, agreements is sovereignty. So just kind of keep that in your mind when we're talking about people and things in general. That's the thing I want to press about that. But next up, back to chat shoutouts though, before we get too far off track. We've got Mr. M Rock Jockey. I am loving Actuator. You're absolutely right, bro. Actuator is a fantastic protocol, and we love Mr. Bill and all his friends who have come up with it and marketed it and done some great things. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Moonpilled. What was that?
You said Mr. Bill.
Yes, Mr. Bill. Yes. Oh no! For all of you guys that remember.
See, you know something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a cultured gentleman. I have I drink my Coors Light with the pinky up. I know a thing or two. But we've got Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics coming in saying, "What's up, gentlemen?" with the cheers. What's up to you too, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics? A good real life friend of mine as well. Love to see it in the chat, broski. Next up, we've got Addy from Chrispy Man stream with the little smiley face. That's a little smug, like, face. Good to see you, Addy. Welcome to the stream. Next up, we've got a good friend of everyone here, RH Max. What's up, gents? What's up to you too, RH Max? Glad that we could have you with us today. You had some excellent points, and I like seeing your comments whenever we go live. It's freaking awesome to have you with us. After that, we've got Mr. Free Speech. Lol, I doubt it would give to sell pressure. I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about, but
he's talking about if the OA emergency end staked and that hex got distributed to everybody that was staking, well, the penalty anyway.
That's right.
As Chrispy was saying, it probably wouldn't give that much sell pressure because it's equally giving to all of the stakes in regard to how much they're earning and how long they are.
Yep, which is a good point, and I had not calculated that, so I'm glad that you brought that up, Mr. Crispy Man. So excellent. We're glad to have you, Mr. Free Speech. Thank you for your thoughts. And yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree from the immediate perspective. It would be more like over a long-term sort of thing. So excellent point, good sir. Next up, and finally for the chat shoutouts, we've got Who Dat, who says blessings to all, blessings to you too, amigo. Glad that we can have you with us as well. We love the blessings. Everybody's getting a fantastic time tonight. And actually, now that I am going back to the live chats, we've got a couple more, Mrs. Producer. I'm starring them as we go. Next up, we've got the Bleached Whale. The Bleached Whale says, keep up all the good work. Or Beached Whale, excuse me. The Beached Whale, not the Bleached Whale. The Beached Whale says,
oh, no.
Keep up all the good work. He could be bleached. If he's out in the sun too long, he's going to change colors. That's for sure. But keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Absolutely. We will keep up the good work as often as we can. And man, this is just absolutely nuts. There's so many people rolling in right now. So glad to see you, broski. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Beyond all saying, hello, D-Gens. Good times ahead. Trade not to hodl hot. Or, I think he had a trade not to hold tight. Or trade not hodl tight. I don't know. He had a
trade not hodl hot.
Hot. He had a
not hodl hot.
Trade not hodl hot, and then he had a correction in his next message that says tight, which I don't entirely recommend, but recognize. But it's good to see you, Mr. Beyond All. Welcome.
Hold the door.
No, he's saying trade not hold tight.
Oh, trade not hold tight. Fucking A right, bro.
Yeah,
absolutely. Good. Next up in the chats, though, we've got Mr. ENJ Dub. Good topic. Probably still going to be a while before most get Hex, though. Oh, well, that's their loss. If you guys don't get it now, then, I can scoop up some more while I'm actively working out here. I'm mowing lawns and building parts, so it's a good time. So while I'm stacking cash and stacking T-shares, y'all can be waiting. I'm buying, though. Next up, we got Mr. Ukon. Ukon says, good to see you all. Meet you hosts in New York and producer in New York. It's awesome to be here now in the Richer Heart ecosystem. We did meet many people in New York. I don't know exactly who you are because you don't have a profile picture, but I know that I met a lot of people in New York, and we're glad to see you too, broski. Welcome. And
you got to see the next one that he said after that.
He did. Oh, thanks again for the pizza. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Mr. Producer, can you pull that up? Yes. So for those of you guys that don't know, when we went to New York, we were outside of the courthouse right after it had ended, and we were all just kind of chilling out in the park. And I was like, man, there's like 40 or 30 or something of us here at the time. There was like 70 or fucking 80 of us. I don't remember how many people were in the courthouse, but there was a lot. And afterwards, we were all just hanging out, having fun. And it was like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And I was like, man, it's New York. There's got to be someone nearby who will like deliver pizzas to us all. And so I like called up a bunch of pizza joints and got one to bring us like, I think it was like 10 or 20 pies or something like that. And RG3 was kind enough to pay for it all after I'd ordered pizzas, and I was like, yo, dude, you'll never guess what I just did. He's like, bro, let me pay for that shit. So between RG3 and me, we got pizza for everybody over there at the New York thing. So it was a fantastic time, and I'm glad that you remember that, Mr. Ukon. That was a good
generous man.
Yes, it was so it's great, man, because that's how you invest in friendship, and that's how you build brands and build community and stuff. So it's just like, I'm selfish, so I want more friends, so I'll do nice things for people, so that way they're forced to be my friend. It's excellent. It's very self-serving. That's my evil
His
plan.
definition of selfish might need some work.
It's in
but
debt.
continue.
In debt.
Yeah, it was super cool and awesome, and I was super glad to meet everybody. So I wanted to give back to the community some way, somehow, and that's the way that that RG3 and I figured would be a good way to do. But yep, shout out to everybody in the chats. It's good to have you all with us tonight. What were we talking about before I broke us off for chat shout outs and things? Brendan, do you have a hard time? You got a
I do. I got to hop off. Yeah, I was traveling for work this week, so I got a lot to catch up on.
Yes.
So I got to hop off. But
Okie dokie.
last, I always like talking about Hex, anything in the Richard Hart ecosystem, especially the Core 4, kind of my focus.
Thanks,
plus
Mr. Bean.
What's that?
I said, thank you, Mr. Bean.
Yes.
Yeah. Plus, there's some awesome protocols and some meme coins that I'm super in love with. But I pretty much stay most of the percentage of my bags into the Core coins, and I'm excited. I would just recommend everyone try not to get too high or too low. I mean, that's the hardest thing with crypto is just staying straight. When you get through a cycle or a couple cycles, it becomes easier. When your soul's been torn out, it becomes easier. When you don't care about the money that's in the ecosystem, as in you never feel like you'll need to take it out, that is when you're at the best. If you're putting more money in and you're worried that you're going to have to take it out in X amount of time, that's mentally going to fatigue you. So put money in that you can't, that you don't need to ever worry about, and you can take out when it becomes mature, which hopefully is many X's. But yeah, so Bitcoin all-time high. C3, Bill, great to see you. Chrispy, man, I'm jealous of your cigar. And
yeah, this is a tasty one too.
What you got?
Yeah, this one's a Placencia.
Ah,
oh,
nice.
hold it in front of the camera.
Oh,
I haven't
man.
tried this one before, but I've got a bunch of them. This is a really good one.
Excellent.
I can tell. I can tell. I'm even smoking. I can tell.
I might have to get a cigar this weekend. You just get me excited.
We have a cigar stream tomorrow night. RG3 and I and Triple Dad. From
That'll be a fun stream.
Up in Smoke, I believe it's called, right?
Yeah. Burn it all. Burn it all.
Throw a link in the chat.
Every Thursday night.
Throw the link in the chat for the people. It's been a while. I haven't tuned in a while, so I'm going to tune in soon.
Yeah, I don't know if they have it scheduled yet, but it's
That
over
would
on
be
the.
freaking sweet.
Nate, Will, thank you guys for hosting and co-hosting. It's always great to see you. Nate, I owe you a phone call back, so I'll try to get back to you tomorrow. Sorry, buddy. It's been crazy. Work's been insane, so you know how
Trust
it is.
me, I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you.
We're also trying to sell our house because we're moving, and so we just had our first open house on Saturday. So when I haven't been working, it's been trying to get the house ready for open house and everything else. So it's been nuts.
Brendan, before you go, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
They can find me in Miami at Red Bar because that's where I normally like to sit down and have a whiskey or a gin. But if you're not in Miami and you're not at Red Bar, then you can find me on X at anonymous_bean or in our Telegram, which if you're not in, I don't know why, but it's right down there. Scan that QR code. Agent J does a lot of TA streams 3-4 times a week, and that is information that you get first in the chat in Telegram before we get it anywhere on YouTube. So that's all I got.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Brendan. This is
the rest of the way, but go Hex.
All righty. We'll see you later, broski.
Bye.
On that note, gentlemen, I think that it's probably about a good time to start winding down. We've been rocking and rolling for quite some time here. I want to open this opportunity up. If there's anything that anyone wants to talk about before we go, this is a good time for the floor to be open. Anything that's been on your mind lately, Mr. Bill or Mr. Chrispy Man, or Mr. Nate.
Well, Bill, let me go first if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I'm just going to say this. So I'm going to share this with you guys from my perspective. First off, we talked a little bit about Actuator. Of course, I'm not part of the team, but I am using the protocol. And so I do urge the sharks and whales who are watching this, you need to go take a look at this. You need to go take a look at it because it is very early and this is pre-viral, at least for this protocol. And I think it's, because, the specific nature of it, how it's built and the immutability of it is right along the lines of what we would expect to see out of RH products. So with that in mind, go take a look at it, and I can tell you what I'm doing, or what I try to do anyways. I played both ends of it. I've gone and I've swapped my hex specifically to get the discount. And then I turned around because I had Hexus liquid, because now I'm holding liquid, right? Holding some liquid. I swapped some hex to get HTTs. I did the LP and I farm, and so now I'm earning the 50% APY. And so right off the top, just creating the LP position, I'm earning about 2 or 3% within the LP position. On top of that, because I've staked I'm farming that, I'm getting roughly 50% APR in terms of actuator. And because then I can take my actuator and I can drop it into what they call the vaults there as a revenue token. Anybody else who comes along and participates, I get even more APR, but now in terms of hex, or in the terms of HTT, which will be hex in the future. So it's this compounding, right, of yield. And then the other side of it is, let's say you find yourself with 100,000, 200,000 hex or whatever. You take 200,000 hex, you can take half of that, go stake at Quattrocinco and at HSI. You'll have to figure out the numbers at the time, so I'm only talking real high level. You can go stake that Quattrocinco and go print HTT 7,000 tokens. You don't have to take any permanent loss. You just get them because it's your token. You own that stake forever, as long as you come back and pay the HTTs back. You take your HTTs, you do the same thing, right? Mash it up with the other half of your hex, set a position, farm the position, and then what you end up with is this. You end up with a stake that you own that's going to be generating, more hedron, going to be generating its own APR within the stake, right? Because it's growing as a hex stake. You have your LP position. There's a V2 LP position that is compounding, is getting bigger. You're able to farm that position, so now you're getting free actuator. Yeah, it's a reward. It's a revenue token, so it has that quirk, that people are going to sell it. But you could sell it too. You can buy more hex with it. So you get the actuator. But if you don't want to sell the actuator, you can then put that in the vault. So we're just repeating the same process, just a little bit longer. And now if people come and they use this protocol, you're going to earn more hex. So anyways, it's a really neat way for me to take hex that's sitting in a wallet doing nothing, because I'm afraid of losing it. I'm afraid of it going away and becoming something else. Like if I put it with Pulse, I'm afraid it becomes all Pulse. That's happened to me before, right? And I want to go do that. So I can go do all of this and earn 50 to 60% APR and strengthen the protocol. And I like the protocol, so I'm using it. That's it. I try to be succinct.
That's a great way to describe it, bro. And that falls right into Nate's whole world of money printer and stuff. But Bill, what have you anything you want to add on top of that Chrispy didn't cover?
Not with respect to that. I think you did a fantastic job, and I appreciate the shout outs to sharks and whales, because the more we bring in, the more prepared we are as a community through that protocol to attract larger outside capital, because there's bigger trade sizes that can be done and more sophisticated things that can happen. So it becomes a virtuous cycle for all of us, but in particular the sharks and the whales, because they allure more capital in and grow the ecosystem, which is really important for all of us, but in particular for sharks and whales, if they want to have maneuvering room.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Nate, do you have any thoughts on like the money printer capabilities of this? Have you looked into any of the stuff that Chrispy Man has been talking about?
Actually, Chrispy, that's a little bit higher than I was looking into it. The way that I was kind of figuring is you simply, and this was originally when it first came out, right? And this is what I've done is simply put in some HSIs in there, right? You take out the HTTs and then, go drop them into the farms that are currently there. That's kind of just what I've done with it. It's a little bit simpler. What you've done is a very, very complicated version, right? And it compounds very well. But the only thing I've really done is I've just kind of set it and I don't want to push too many buttons. I guess.
I don't want to take too much credit for coming up with an idea that I didn't come up with. It's really only one more. It's only one more button. You get the actuator and you go to the other tab and you stake the actuator. It's in the vault, and then you earn HTTs. So if you're not if you're not cashing out, if you're not selling the actuator, It's just simply using the actuator for something instead.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I like that. And Bill, you were saying that the farming for like earning the actuator from having HTT liquidity paired with Hex, that ends at year 3, correct?
Correct. The farming, this becomes a slightly deflationary token after 3 years. We're in the inflationary portion now because, of course, that's how you distribute the token. And it's a fair distribution, we believe, with the team tracking at the same rate the community does. But at the end of year 3, that's it. There's no more actuator coming, and there are slight mechanisms for it to go away, such as early withdrawals on stakes in the vaults and stuff will burn pieces of actuator, and they get burned. So, right.
There you go. Excellent, excellent. Mr. Bill, any final thoughts on anything that you wanted to talk about before we start wrapping up the stream or anything? Anything that's been on your mind lately?
Just that it's extremely encouraging and positive environment right now. And if there's a time to be bags packed, mindset, and head trained and ready to go, locked and loaded, this is probably it. As Bitcoin presses into new highs, as ETH starts to run back up, alt seasons come very quickly, and we're leveraged to play on that in our community. So very exciting.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Nate, I want to toss it to you. Do you have anything that you want to say before we start winding down?
Yeah, just give it a few months. Looking for Q4 of this year. It's gonna be interesting, and there's a very real possibility that it will be an extended cycle going into possibly even at the beginning of Q2 of next year. For the actual super pumps to happen, or the blow off top as normal. But we're looking for, ultimately, it's we're just relying on Donald Pump to make things take off. So he's out there, he's working. The tariffs, they're starting, the money from the tariffs is starting to come in. We need to solve just simply what's going on with China, and we need to get more investments into the United States. And then also on top of that, we need the production to actually start taking off as well. So everything is set, right? It's the stage is getting set. We need to push the play button at this point. And that money printer is going to be absolutely rolling. And I'm not just talking about the Fed this time. So no, looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and start winding down the show. This has been a fantastic conversation. We've gone on for 2 hours and 12 minutes. There's currently 320 people watching between both YouTube and X accounts. So this has been a fantastic stream. I fucking love it. Every single one of you guys that are in the audience, thank you so much for joining us. You're all fantastic, and we certainly all appreciate you guys being here. So that being said, Mr. Bill, we'll go ahead and start with you. Where can the folks find you, and what do you have going on in the near future, my friend?
Sure. Well, please go on and find us at actuator.finance. You'll find everything from the docs to the explanations with some great tutorials down below, and also the app itself. You can also go out to X, or Actuator Finance, t.me/Actuator Finance. And you can get to our Telegram as well through that.
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Chrispy Man, where can the folks find you, and what do you have going on in the near future?
You can find me at Hexfire.io on either Twitter or YouTube, or Hexfire.io is the website. And then, for near future, more T-Share Friday coming, more T-Share reports. I got, and again, I'm smoking the cigar stream tomorrow night. That's kind of a crossover fun one, just because we all like cigars. We talk a little bit, tiny bit of crypto, not much. But.
Excellent, excellent. I like it. Let me just type this out. Check out Chrispy Man. I was almost ready, but I was grabbing the link while you were talking there. Bam, paste, bam. So that's where you guys can find Mr. Chrispy Man. Again, hexfire.io, and you can find him on. You're on Twitter as well, right, Chrispy?
Yep. Yeah, at Hexfire.io. Yep.
There you guys go. So check them out right there. Mr. Nate McGettit, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
So the Ascending Man right here. You can go ahead and find me on YouTube, and as it says even further down there on X, it's the same thing. I have 5 videos that are recorded and they're going to be starting to come out. I've got some entertaining videos too. I'm kind of going a little bit of a different direction than the normal go live or just make a quick instructional video. I'm starting to kind of move into, I wish things would be a little more entertaining, a little more quicker paced, maybe with throwing in memes and things like that. So yeah, I'm finishing up the editing of one of my shows that I did. Actually, I recorded it like 2 weeks ago. But the editing has taken a little bit longer than I thought it would, especially with how busy I've been with my in real life job. So look forward to that. It's all about, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? And the lessons learned from that, especially when it came to the whole PDI thing. So there's a lot of dancing on graves when it came to that. And there's an important lesson to be learned there with that. So, and then, yeah, I've recorded a bunch of other ones and I'll be pumping those out as fast as I can. These ones are more for fun, I would say. But yeah, so it's just kind of commentary on stuff that is happening around the world. So with that being said, I will go ahead and throw it over to Will Stevenson to take us out.
Excellent. So for the folks at home who would like to find me or any of my socials, you can find them all linked from will.pls.fyi. Oh, I don't know if I brought up yours, Nate. There's yours right there. So yeah, those are the links where you guys can find Nate's stuff. For those of you guys that want to find any of my socials, you can find them at will.pls.fyi. My Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, X, Telegram, everything's linked off of there. Facebook, even if you want to use Facebook, everything's linked off of there. So that's where you can find everything having to do with me. For those of you guys that are new to the DGen Roundtable or new to Chrispy Man or Hexfire, then you guys can find us right here where you're finding us right now, either on YouTube or X. This is where we're at. For those of you guys that want to check out more of what's going on with the DGen Roundtable, we stream here on YouTube and X every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. So that's our normal stream time. Wednesdays, we talk to people, see what's going on with folks in the community, folks that are developing stuff. On Fridays, we do book club, which for this week, we were going to be doing Hijacking Bitcoin by, I can't remember his name, Bitcoin Jesus. Anyway, we were going to be doing that one.
Roger Ver.
Roger Ver. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chrispy. Yes, we were going to be doing that one, and it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend you guys read it, but I don't want to do that without Zenith, and he's got some things that he needs to take care of on Friday. So in lieu of that, I'm going to be reading the Bitcoin white paper live on stream, and we're going to do a book club covering of the Bitcoin white paper for those of you guys who have never heard of the Bitcoin white paper or know anything about it. I know that I've never read it, so this is going to be a first for me. So that's what we're going to be doing on book club for Friday. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern is when we start. And then on Sunday's show, we're going to be covering the same thing that we always do, the crypto news for the week and anything going on at the macroeconomics level. You guys can find us here at the DGen Roundtable. This is where we do stuff. For those of you guys that don't know anything about our Telegram, you can join us again at t.me/DRT join now. You can either scan that QR code or you can click that link in the live show. For those of you guys catching us on the replay, we appreciate y'all very much as well. And we freaking love each and every single one of you. So with that being the case, Mrs. Producer, I think that you are behind the scenes. And if you are, yep, Nate, is she ready to rock and roll and click the button thing? Okay, cool. I've been doing a little bit of bringing up the comments. So I'm gonna go hands off for you to end the show, Mrs. Producer. And it's time to read the end of show copywriting. So that being said, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As Agent Jay often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.